2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Coming up, we're going to hear from USC football coach Will Muschamp. His thoughts about his team's major scrimmage this past Saturday inside Williams-Brice Stadium, besides just the overall performance of his players, which I think he felt good about. I think the other piece of good news is that there was no news on the injury front. In other words, didn't say anybody got hurt. If anybody did, they're keeping it to themselves, but that would be, I think, good news for South Carolina that they made it through the scrimmage without any significant injuries. Clemson back at practice after being away on spring break, and we'll hear from Dabo Swinney coming up in a little bit. He was going to meet with the media a little while ago following practice to update things as the Tigers kind of get the kinks out today and get back to work. Their spring game is not until the 14th. So they still have a couple more weeks to work. Of course, USC spring game is coming up this Saturday, but even then, it won't be over for the Gamecocks because they will be practicing 2 more times the following week. So all that is coming up in a moment. I'll give you the recruiting report for tonight because a lot of stuff to catch up on from over the weekend, including USC's most recent commitment, defensive lineman Jakeem Green, 6'5", 285. He may be as much as 300 out of Sumter High. He goes to Highland Community College in Kansas. He was in last Tuesday to watch practice, then back on Saturday for the scrimmage. Then he committed to the Gamecocks. He said it just felt like home to him. He really likes USC and the coaches. Lance Thompson identified Green as a prospect on one of his visits out to Highland. That got the ball rolling, and he grew up a South Carolina fan, and he said getting the offer from them was very, very big for him. 49 tackles, 4 tackles for loss. He was named as a freshman all-conference. So he gives USC 8 commitments for the 19 class, the 3rd on the defensive line. Last week, defensive back Kyer Elam of North Palm Beach, Florida, made a visit to Clemson as part of a college tour. He also went to Georgia, NC State, and Auburn. Clemson impressed him quite a bit. Dabo Swinney was out of town, so he spent a lot of time with Brent Venables. He has offers as well from Alabama, Stanford, Syracuse, Florida, Georgia Tech, Oregon, Florida State, and Ohio State. He told us he does have a favorite, but he did not want to say who that is right now. He is going to not going to sign early, and he has no other visits planned right now, but he will take some other visits down the road. His father, you might recall, if you recognize that name, played at Notre Dame and Penn State and in the NFL, and his uncle is former Florida star Matt Elam, a former first-round pick. Chris Steele, one of the top cornerbacks in the country, out of Bellflower, California, was at USC with his parents over the weekend, and he really was impressed. He said he gave it a 10. This was his first time in South Carolina, so he really didn't know what to expect. He said, in fact, when thinking about coming to Columbia, he said basically he thought he was going to be out in the woods somewhere. So he was impressed by the city, was impressed by the campus and all of that. He likes the idea that Muschamp and Travaris Robinson have developed some big-time cornerbacks in their coaching careers, and that weighs heavily with him. He's got offers from coast to coast, big-time offers. He can go anywhere in the country. He said the coaches in conversation with him over the weekend compared him to Minkah Fitzpatrick, which he took as a major compliment. So his recruiting process will continue. He's also been to Texas A&M, Alabama, LSU, Arizona, Arizona State, Oregon, Southern Cal, UCLA, Stanford, and Cal. He's got an official to Oklahoma April 14th. He also wants to visit Florida and Miami. He does plan to return to USC for an official visit. He's looking at the weekend of the Georgia game for that. He will announce his commitment at the Army All-American game. He will graduate and sign early. Now, they had the Atlanta area tryouts for the opening yesterday, so a lot of the recruiting media guys were there. Hale McGranahan of SEC Country reported that quarterback Talia Tagovailoa of Alabaster, Alabama, the brother of the Alabama quarterback, was at USC Saturday and plans to return for an official visit possibly in April. He also has offers from Alabama, Florida, Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Oregon, Tennessee, and Utah. He passed for about 4,000 yards and 38 touchdowns last season. Based on his comments to Hale and to other reporters, it sounds like he's going to go to Alabama, where his brother is.
Seems like it makes sense.
All his family's in Alabaster. And they can all get to his games in Tuscaloosa. USC and Clemson are in the top 7 with defensive back Sheridan Jones of Virginia Beach, Virginia. The others are Alabama, Tennessee, Nebraska, Virginia Tech, and Ohio State. USC quarterback target Ryan Helinski was offered by Texas A&M. Defensive lineman Ben Smiley of Chesapeake, Virginia, was at USC Saturday. USC target receiver Deshaun Stoudemire of Stone Mountain, Georgia, committed to West Virginia. Defensive end Derek Hunter of Fort Myers, Florida, was offered by Clemson. USC is also one of his offers. Defensive lineman Trevon Walker of Thomaston, Georgia, told the Big Spur in Atlanta yesterday that the top 4 with him are Clemson, USC, Alabama, and Georgia. Same 4 he's had for a while. Linebacker Vonta Bentley of Birmingham told the SEC Country Alabama site yesterday opening that Clemson is his clear favorite ahead of Alabama at this point. He will visit Alabama April 13th. 2020 linebacker Kalel Mullings of Boston was offered by Clemson on a visit Friday. 2020 linebacker Sergio Allen of Fort Valley, Georgia, was offered by Clemson today. Defensive end Curtis Fan, Twin City, Georgia, plans to be at USC for the spring game. Receiver Ray Greer of Belmont, North Carolina, was at USC over the weekend and was offered by the Gamecocks. NC State, Appalachian State, and Charlotte also have offered. Place kicker Patrick Nations of Walhalla was offered by North Greenville on Saturday while on a visit. He'll visit USC Saturday for the spring game. Linebacker Jalen Scott of Shelby, North Carolina, was to be at Clemson today to watch practice. He was at Clemson in January for a junior day. He was at Tennessee Saturday. And USC in basketball. USC showing interest, reportedly, in 6'4" point guard Tyler Cheese of Florida Southwest State Junior College.
The power of cheese.
Well, you wouldn't want to cut him because then you'd be cutting the cheese.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Stop it.
I mean, I just really made that up right then and there. That's pretty good, though, don't you think? So seriously, you can't cut him because it would stink to cut him because you'd be cutting the cheese.
That joke stinks like gorgonzola.
Unless
he averaged 15 points and 6.6 assists per game this season.
Unless you have cotton up your nose. You always put cotton up
Brian,
your nose.
Don't cut that guy because you'll be cutting the cheese.
So bad.
Brian likes it. Brian likes it.
Absolutely terrible.
All right, how are the USC women doing so far?
4-1 UConn. Make it 7-1.
7-1.
Yeah, not a good start, huh?
Well, a couple of calls early, and I hate to go this way, but
see, here you are already.
His pro is already
hammering the officials.
The block shot by Asia Wilson was not a foul.
Oh, they called a foul on her?
And then the other one they called a charge.
It's not
going to
make
charge.
It's not going to make Dawn Staley happy. You know, Dawn thinks that
Asia doesn't foul.
Yeah, she thinks that there should be the Jordan rules with her.
Well, 7-1, not the kind of start that you want to have now. Wilson just scores, so that gets it down to 7-3. Again, what you have to do if you're South Carolina, and we all know this, is survive the opening salvo by UConn because you know they're going to come out and good Lord, look at that break. Ball bouncing, hit every part of the backboard and the rim before going in.
It's the iron kind, man.
So you got to survive this quick start by UConn. You know they're being sparked as well by having the home crowd behind them in a big way. So you just have to hold on and survive here and try and get through the first quarter in good shape. Don't get blown out early. Don't let this game get away from you in the first 10 minutes.
Well, each coach always does this, Corn, and it's nothing new. Everybody looks at points. I never look at points. I look at shots. You're only 2 3-point shots down, 3 2-point shots down.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody only, well, they're up by 10. I said, that's only 5 shots.
But you got to get stops.
Yes.
That's part of the problem. And against a great offensive team, it's tough to do. Gamecocks are down 9-3 in the first 2.5 minutes. I'm not sure they want to play at that kind of pace, so they better do what they can to get control of the flow of this game here early on. And we'll be right back to hear from Will Muschamp.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
All right, South Carolina trying to weather the early storm by UConn, down 15-8 with 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. And just trying to hang in there if they can right now. Now it's 17-8 after an offensive rebound and putback.
Now, Fuchsia Collier, man, you can't stop that.
Hey, check out foundersfcu.com and learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. Let's get to some football. USC scrimmaged on Saturday. Clemson practiced today, so Dabo Swinney fresh in the house after the Tigers went back to work today after their spring break, talking about his quarterbacks.
All of them made some very good plays, some nice throws. I mean, it's fun to watch. You know, we're competing every day, evaluating everything, and we'll sit down once we get it. We got a lot coming. I mean, like I said, we got 6 practices left. One's a spring game. We're going to be very competitive. One's a full scrimmage Wednesday, and then we got 2 half scrimmage days. So you got 4 really, really big days to go with that last scrimmage. So a lot of evaluating and information, but I thought they all did well.
Do you want to name a starter coming out of spring, or do you just see when it happens?
Well, I mean, we got a starter right now. Kelly's our starter. So I mean, there's really no announcement unless that changed. We've got our starters back, but that doesn't mean he gets to. Like, as y'all heard me say many times, Mitch Height's our returning starter left tackle, but he's got to earn it every day. He doesn't just get anointed. Nobody's that way. And the quarterback obviously gets the most questions and headlines, but Cleveland has to earn it every day. Christian has to earn it every day. If you're the best guy, you're the best guy, and you got to prove it every single day. So, Kelly's the starter. I mean, he's a returning starter for us. Started how many games we played? 14 games. So, I mean, he's that's where we are. So if something changes, then there's an announcement. But other than that, there's no announcement to make.
With Isaiah, what have you seen from him so far this spring? Isaiah Simmons.
What I hoped I would see at range. We're some diversification from him. We're working him a lot at the nickel position, the nickel Sam spot where Dorian was. Love what I'm seeing out of him there. And then Nolan Turner got hurt in the scrimmage, so that puts us down. He was really having a good spring, and so he's going to have a little shoulder surgery. So he'll be out the rest of spring. Be back sometime this summer. So now we're cross. We were doing it anyway, but now a little bit more so. We're kind of cross training him at both spots. So I think long term that bodes well for us. Just the diversity that he provides us. Just being able to play him at safety. But we love him up there in that nickel Sam position. I mean, he's and we love him on the back end. He's got length and range and ball skills, and he's really starting to figure things out. So you got to remember, he hadn't played a ton of snaps, but he did get some good experience last year. But he's got a bright future, and he'll be a guy that'll be a factor for us.
How many quarterbacks live some of across sports feed into each other? I know, especially in recruiting, I know you take a lot of football recruits to basketball games and
sure.
vice versa.
Yeah, I think it matters a lot. I think anytime you have a lot of pride in success maybe in one area, it's contagious to another area. I don't think there's any question about that. Because young people are competitive and coaches are competitive. And, that's just the nature of it. And, if I'm a basketball player and I see, man, the baseball team is playing unbelievably great, that kind of makes you want to step your game up. And same thing, if you're a football player and your basketball team is playing at a high level, wants you to just be, you want to be the best that you can be.
All right, Dabo Swinney back at it after spring break, and the Tigers have one more practice this week. Then they don't practice anymore this week, and they pick it back up next week. As for USC, the Gamecocks are gearing up for their spring game on Saturday. Will Muschamp put the team through its first big scrimmage of the spring this past Saturday?
We did some nice things catching the football. I thought we did some nice things running the ball. Defensively, I think we had one interception. We didn't get the ball off the offense offense. Other than that, I think that there's been some young guys, that continue to progress and get better, and that's what we need to do. And but I love the coach me coach attitude this football team has, and we got to continue to have that. It was not a day that we had a lot of procedure issues and things like that. Our guys have done a good job of getting aligned and not making silly penalties. So that was obviously very good to see. But the number of snaps is exciting to have the depth that we have it right now and continuing to build that. And I'll open up for any questions.
How comfortable do you guys look in the offense running that up tempo?
Oh, they look good. I think it was one of the things I addressed with them at the end. I said, our tempo's got to continue to improve and get better, and we've got to have that spot the ball mentality on both sides of the ball. We were dragging a little bit on defense. There's no doubt that it benefits our football team. You saw some things that opened up in the running game and the passing game because of the tempo today, but it also helps our defense as well in preparation for the fall.
Jake said earlier this week that maybe the offense has caught the defense off guard, maybe out of position a couple of times in practice. Was that the case again today?
That's what happens. You don't have to block guys as long. At the end of the day, you get displaced. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. And when you get a little fatigued, you struggle to align, you struggle to execute what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. And when you play at that tempo a lot, you become accustomed to it and you play faster and you play well.
What does that do for the young quarterbacks to be able to go live?
Well, both of these guys are really good athletes, and they're good quarterbacks as well. But you're not being fair to them whether or not I blow the whistle and said the defense it was a tackle or it wasn't a tackle. So again, you saw some explosive runs by both DeCarrion and Jay today with their legs, and they both threw the ball well. I was very pleased with how they threw it and commanded our offense. There was no glitches, there was no delay of games, there was no procedure issues when any of the quarterbacks were in the game, which is pleasing for me to see.
You mentioned the quarterbacks a few years ago. Health-wise, you come through okay today?
Yeah. I think health-wise overall, I think we had one sprained ankle, and that's it. I mean, other than that, I've been, we're banged up at receiver. Obviously, Chad tore his ACL. Randrikis has had an issue with his groin that had to be drained. I don't know if he'll be back in the spring. Brian's been slowed with the shoulder, and Debo's with the foot. But that's it. I mean, everybody's fine.
Is Rico sidelined?
Rico, yeah. I'm hoping maybe next week get him back.
Yep. The move with Stanley at center, you've been pleased with that?
Absolutely. We had a couple snap issues in the first week, which is unfortunately expected. But the guy's he gets movement inside. He's a great communicator. He's extremely intelligent. So I'm very pleased with our starting five on the offensive line. We've also moved Malik Young back on the offensive line. He's had an ankle injury, so he has been out. He has not been able to take many snaps at defensive tackle, and I didn't think that was fair to him to move him to a brand new position going into his senior year when he can play productive offensive line for us and be one of our starting five. And we need more depth and experience on the offensive line. But I've been pleased with how we've progressed up front offensively.
All right, Will Muschamp following the Gamecocks scrimmage. Again, the good news, what do you say, just a sprained ankle for somebody, nothing very serious. They're going to move Young back to the offensive line. Wasn't working at for defensive line for him, so they're moving him back to the offensive line.
And they've done the Keir Thomas and J.J. Anigbar all the way inside for those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, too, I don't know what it took for them to finally start realizing, hey, maybe going fast with the offense is a good thing. I'm glad they're finally realizing it, because that, I think, was the missing link. And I think that's the one thing when you look at the deficiencies in the offensive line and you look at the type of talent that they have offensively, that offense is predicated to go fast and do kind of what Missouri did last year with their offense and push tempo and try to get up a lot of plays in a very short amount of time.
Well, the thing about it is with tempo, you're not letting the defense rest. I thought a lot of times South Carolina, because they went on slow counts, guys started reading their keys. They looked at the formation. Oh, yeah, this is what they're going to do. Well, if you just line up, let's go. They don't have all that time to be reading what guys are moving. Hey, this is what they're going to do, because you have more time to read the formation and get guys in position to stop what you're trying to do.
All right, USC getting run out of the gym 27-10 as the quarter rolls towards its conclusion. 30 seconds to go. 62% shooting for UConn. 8 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3, 7 of 7 from the line. Every one of their players has scored. They've only played 5. Samuelson leads with 9. Wilson has 7 for USC. Jennings just scored to make it 27-12. So 7 for Wilson, 5 for Jennings. Nobody else has scored for USC, which is shooting 50%. But they've only taken 10 shots and no three-pointers.
Taisha Harris has not even taken a shot. That seems timid to me.
The day of Omaha, it's enough for me. So you can take the Omaha trip if one of our baseball teams goes.
Well, thank you for that. 30-12 UConn on top of South Carolina at the end of a quarter.
I wouldn't want to job you out of a nice whiskey ribeye at the Drover.
They are good.
They're very good.
64% shooting by the Huskies. Coming up, we're going to do baseball with Monty Lee and Mark Kingston. Let's go to Reggie in Lexington very quickly here on Sports Talk. Reggie, what's going on?
This question is for pro and pro only. Hey, pro, I thought your boy Leonard Hamilton acquitted himself quite well in that Dana Jacobson interview. I'm trying to explain why he didn't foul in the closing seconds. I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. I'm going to hang up and listen until the other guys start
I did
talking,
not hear the interview.
Wait a second. Was that Reggie Anderson?
Yeah,
I thought
I
so.
didn't hear the
His
interview.
voice sounded a little feminine there. I don't know if his age is. Well, it didn't sound kind of high pitched.
I heard the interview.
Well, hang on a second. I'm not finished with Reggie. You have to understand. You don't know how this works.
I understand.
See, Reggie is the 4th-rated television sportscaster in a 3 sportscaster market.
I thought he was on the equestrian team.
So, well, he is. He's the horse, Reggie. He's got the mouth of a horse. But he gets more audience by calling into this show for his 15 seconds. We allow him to be on the air. He gets a greater audience than he does when he does one of his TV sportscasts.
Well, Reggie.
So now you can answer his comments.
What Reggie is referring to is he did an interview with Dana Jacobson about not fouling. When he was only down 4 late in the game, and he said the game was over. He apologized about the interview afterwards, but he didn't quite handle himself in the most professional
It was poor.
manner.
It was very poor. It was very poor. I've seen coaches lose tougher games than that in those situations and answer the questions professionally. He was questioning her rationale for answering the question. Number one, he's like, "What are you talking about?" And anybody watching the last 11 seconds of that game. You were screaming at your television, foul.
I was wondering. Well, here's the thing. I think some coaches push it a little too far in the NCAA tournament. Like there was one coach, I think, who fouled down 8 with like 20 seconds to go. Like that's too much.
He was down what?
4. They were down 4. No, I'm saying that
against a team that doesn't shoot free throws.
That was different. That was different. A different situation. I'm saying there are some opportunities where it seems like they get a little excessive. Be like, guys, really.
And by the way, Reggie, we'll be watching Wolo tonight in Channel 10 here in Columbia for post-game coverage of the USC women. Also we'll be watching Corey Miller too, who's left you in the dirt.
Reggie.
All right, let's talk baseball. Clemson bounced back from a tough week going into this past weekend. They had lost 4 in a row, lost 3 in a row to NC State, got beat by a grand slam against Coastal. They go to Louisville, which was highly ranked and, of course, one of the preseason favorites in the ACC. Tigers take 2 out of 3, and Monty Lee talking to the Clemson insider following the game yesterday. They had 2 games yesterday because of the rain out on Saturday. So the Tigers split the doubleheader yesterday, 1 on Friday. Talking to the Clemson insider, here's what Monty Lee had to say about coming away with a series victory.
To get out of here with a series win, we played just good enough in the first ball game, played really good defensively in the first ball game, pitched out of some tough spots. I thought our bullpen was good, especially Riley. It was great to see Riley pitch so well for us in the 9th inning. With a 1-run lead, he did what one of the best closers in the country is supposed to do. So, Riley Gilliam was definitely the reason that we won this series. And, offensively we did just enough. And, in game 2, they hit Higgy. I mean, bottom line, Higgy left some balls up and over the plate, and their offense got it going, and we just couldn't find a way to get back into the ball game. Just couldn't find a way to put together any kind of offense in game 2. But overall, it's good to get out of here. After a tough weekend last weekend, a tough 4-game stretch for us, to be able to come to Louisville, a tough place to play in these circumstances and win a series. Happy for my club. Wish we could have competed better in game 2, put together a better ball game in game 2 today, in game 3 of the series, but overall we'll take it.
Jordan came in, played for Bird today. Talk a little bit about Bird's injury and what Jordan gave you.
Well, Bird was nicked up a little bit. He was hobbling a little bit even in Friday night's game, and we just felt like it was in our best interest and in Bird's best interest to try to rest him. We gave him a pinch hit at bat, but we were going to pinch run for him if he got on base. And Jordan, being a veteran player and having played a lot of baseball for us here, but just trying to find a way to get him in the ball game. And it just hasn't, happened with the way that Cromwell had been swinging the bat and Bird had been swinging the bat. But Greeny came in and played a really good ball game today and definitely earned himself the opportunity to get back out there and play some more for us.
After 4 tough losses, you guys got to be thrilled with a series win this weekend.
Yeah, we are. I mean, anytime, looking at the big picture, anytime you can come on the road against a perennial power like a Louisville and win a series, you're happy to be able to get out of here. And, all of them were close ball games. We had an extremely competitive game in game 1. Game 2, another extremely competitive ball game. Game 3, really, the score didn't indicate, how one-sided it was. They outplayed us by a long shot in the 3rd game of the series. Wish we could have done a better job of putting together good at-bats and competing a little better there in the 3rd game of the series. But overall, to be able to leave here with a series win, it definitely feels good. But we still got to get better. We got to get better in a lot of areas, and I don't think we're a complete team right now. We got a lot of areas we got to improve on. But we got a long way to go and a lot of baseball to play, and hopefully we can get going in all cylinders going this week. Hopefully this weekend we can create some positive momentum going into the next week.
Okay, Monty Lee, courtesy of the Clemson Insider. Quick update on the basketball, 39-22. USC had made a little bit of a run and got it to within 14. They still haven't taken a three-pointer. They've gone through a quarter and about a half, and they have yet to attempt a three-pointer. Interesting. I don't know if that's because of defense or strategy.
No, it's because they don't have any open looks. Nothing is open for them. They're getting run off the three-point line.
Suffocating them outside?
Yes.
Yeah. Wilson has 11 and 2 rebounds for USC. Dangerfield has 13 to lead UConn at this point. All right, back to baseball now. Mark Kingston, USC coach. Things are kind of rough for USC baseball right now. You take a look at the RPIs for this week after this past weekend's action, and South Carolina is in the RPI number 130. Clemson 7, Coastal 19, College of Charleston 31, Furman 91, USC 130, Wofford 136, and on it goes. So, they still have plenty of season ahead of them, but there's nothing like this week and tomorrow night and then this week against Tennessee to turn things around for the Gamecocks. From an interview with Gamecock Central following the loss at Georgia yesterday that completed a 3-game sweep in the hands of the Bulldogs, here is Mark Kingston talking about the state of things with his club after that loss.
Right now for us, it's tough, but there's only one way to do it is you keep going to work. Pitching was outstanding today. We gave up 3 hits. Defense was really good, and they played better. They found a way to get 3 runs on the board with only 3 hits, and we didn't make any errors to help them, but we helped them with walks and a couple of wild pitches. And that's the difference in the ballgame.
What were the struggles offensively, or why the struggles offensively?
Well, they had a guy out there. This was a tough day to hit for both teams, clearly. There were 7 hits for both teams, so it's clearly a tough day to hit from a weather standpoint, from a wind standpoint. So you got to find a way to scratch some runs out. We didn't do that.
How do you go about fixing the offense or trying to get back on track? Is it still just trusting the process and going to work, like you said?
Well, yeah. The only thing you can do right now is go to work. Period. There's no magic buttons. There's nothing else to do other than just go back to work and make sure the guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And for the most part, they are. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but we need better results.
Is that frustrating for you guys, as knowing that you're doing the right things at the right times? It's just
very frustrating. Yes, it is. When you know you're doing the right things, when everything is in place for guys to be successful, you get frustrated when they're not successful. That's just part of coaching, part of being part of a team. When you do the right things and you don't get the results you want, it's very frustrating.
All right, Mark Kingston, following a weekend debacle. In fact, the whole week went to the dogs for the Gamecocks.
Went to the dogs.
Easy.
So they lost to Citadel Bulldogs. They lost to Georgia Bulldogs 3 times. So it was just not a good week for South Carolina.
They got turned into puppy chow.
Yeah, to say the least. Team is batting .269 now after 24 games. I mean, they do a lot of things well. They field extremely well, .980. They've got some power, 36 home runs. They're playing a little small ball. It's hard to figure out why this team can't win games.
Timely hitting and a not very deep pitching staff.
And looking for the last shoe to drop.
Always mental with you.
Oh, yeah, it is.
The guys are always checking email. Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk from Columbia's Main Street.
All right, it's 49-29, UConn over South Carolina now. So the Gamecocks had gotten it to 14. Now it's gone back up to 20 with 1:37 to go in the half. Now 49-31. USC shooting 57%. Just can't get stops.
Opportunities. It's a lack of opportunities.
Because they're not sitting on the three-point shooters. They're collapsing inside. I think at some point you just play the three-point line and say, "To us to death."
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
UConn is shooting 67%, 7 of 7 from the line. 8 turnovers for USC. Rebounding is even at 10 each.
They're basically saying, we'll give you anything inside the three-point line.
Yeah, USC's got 24 points in the paint to 14.
That's what it is
for UConn. 13 assists for UConn on their 18 baskets. That's how quickly they move the ball. They're very impressive. The ball, a lot of times down the floor, the ball hardly touches the floor. Just pass, shoot. Pass, shoot.
But I get me assists every time if I throw somebody 30 feet away from the basket and they're hitting a three.
Yeah.
The one thing that makes beautiful women's basketball happen is what UConn does, and that is pass the ball extremely well. And I think that's not something that Gino Auriemma gets enough credit for, is that they predicate themselves on good passing.
I saw a lot of passing in this All-Star game Saturday night, full court passing leading to a dunk. It was not a great exhibition of basketball if you want to see basketball skills on display. The South Carolina girls won 76-70. The boys lost 123-108. Big crowd at Hoggard High School, and they did a nice job putting it on. For my taste, it wasn't great basketball because it was basically a lot of full court passing, a lot of individual threes taken, and a lot of dunking. No defense played whatsoever. Afterwards, I talked to Coach Tim Morris, the South Carolina head coach at Woodmont High School, and talked about that very thing, that, both teams came to the arena and left their defense at the hotel.
Yeah, like most All-Star games, it's an offensive showcase. And I had told them that they're all offensive. They all can score and they all can play. It's going to come down to who plays better defense. And I don't really think that North Carolina played that much better defense, but they just hit a lot of shots early and got that lead. And we finally cut it to 8 at one point. Couldn't get that timeout to stop that. And I thought we'd done a good job. We played better in the second half. That second group played better, I thought. And number 5, Jermaine Patterson, really poured it on. He must have had about 20 points in a row at one point. So I think he did a good job.
Not much you can say in terms of trying to stop a team from putting a run together, like Carolina was able to do when guys just aren't giving you that defensive effort that you need to go out and get stops in a game like this.
No, they're not, and it's really hard in an All-Star game you can tell them and you can get on them and tell them, but you only been with them 3 days. You don't know how to push that button in some of them. You don't know what to say to them. My kids back home, I know what to say, but in a game like that, you don't know what to say to certain kids that will make that happen. So I think that's just an All-Star game. That's how it goes. And the score was indicative of an All-Star game score, 100 points both teams. So it didn't surprise me there.
And there's no fear of the bench in this case either. You're not going to sit them down.
No, because they are guaranteed to play an equal amount of time. So there's nothing that you can do by saying I'm going to bench you, or that's nothing you can do. So that's what happened.
Who impressed you on your side?
I was impressed by number 5, Jermaine Patterson, when he went through that stretch where he scored all his points. But he began to defend, and he got some steals. And I had seen a good bit of film on him, and that's when he came out that time, I said, that's the Jermaine Patterson that I had seen in the film when he played that stretch hard right there. That's what I had seen. Prior to that, I had not seen that, but then I saw that, and I was very pleased with how hard he played that time.
What does South Carolina have to do to be a little more competitive in this game, or is it just a year-by-year thing depending on the players you have to choose from in the state?
I think it's a year-by-year thing depending on who we have to choose from. I mean, it would have been great to have somebody like Zion Williams in this game. We had in our state, in the upstate, we have the best player in the country. I know, bar none, but we can't get him because he's private school, so that hurt us too. So I think it's a year-by-year thing. We have a good class coming in next year, and like you said the other night, Forest Guard has some. We need to get those people. But they're in the high school league, I think, so we can get their players.
Well, no, I think they're Skeeza. Portugal. Yeah,
right.
They're Portugal. But I know what you're saying.
Is in the high school league.
Exactly. First year here in Wilmington with this game after many years in Myrtle Beach. How did you think it was run? Looks like it's going to be here for a little while.
They were great. They treated us great. They kept our kids busy. They had no downtime, which is good. The kids were asked to do a lot, and they did it. They gave sacrificially. I was pleased with that. And I think it'll be here for a while because this company, Flock, this nonprofit organization from House of Rayford, they put a lot of money into it, and they expected a lot. And I think I think we gave them a lot. I think our guys did a good job.
Big crowd tonight. The place was packed, standing room only.
This is the biggest crowd I've seen at this game, and I've been to them in a long time. So I was excited. I told the guys this is the biggest crowd at this game in quite some time. Maybe the biggest as far as its capacity and what this place holds.
What did it mean for you to be the coach this year?
I would love for us to have won the game, but it means it's the pinnacle of your career. That it's what you want to be able to do. You want to be chosen by your coaches that you coach with to be in this game, and I was pleased to be able to coach in it. Wish we could have brought home a win, but I was pleased to be able to coach it, and I really like being around those guys. They were good, beautiful guys.
Last thing, having gone through this, is there anything you would do to tinker with the game to make it more basketball-like, what you're used to seeing in a high school game versus just up and down the floor, long passes, dunks, long three-point shots? Can you govern the game in that way with these players in this mindset?
Perhaps if you could play a little zone and incorporate some trapping, 1-3-1. I mean, just some zone, something to change it up a little bit and take away from just a up and down dunkathon is what the kids want to do that. But if you can incorporate some zone in some areas that, okay, this is where you are. You're up top in a 1-3-1, or you're here in a 2-3. That may change things. That may be, but usually in All-Star games they don't want any zone. They don't want, because they feel like that would inhibit the offensive skills of players. But I think it would help in terms of stopping up and down, running up and down the court.
Okay, Tim Morris, coach of the South Carolina team. My suggestion would be this: after sitting through it, I would let them play like that for a half. Take the first half, let it be of a showcase of dunking and all that kind of stuff within the parameters of the game. But then the second half, let's play basketball. Let's cut out the mass substitution. Let's play the players who are deserving to play, but use your bench as called for strategically. Let them play zone defense. Let them do some trapping. Do some things to put basketball elements back into a game.
How much time did he have with this team? Players.
They were only there for 2 days, I believe. They got there on Thursday.
Therein lies
Thursday,
the
Friday, and then they played on Saturday.
If they had a way they could have a week with those guys, it really would work.
Well, I mean, you would think they would maybe give them more, like do it for football.
Yeah,
give them a week. Now, of course, football occurs. Of course, the North-South game is. They're still in school during the North-South game.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they're in school the week of the Shrine Bowl, so they give them time off for that.
The thing that you'll never have guys who are either on the periphery or trying to rise their stock. They want to be able to do that in a game of this nature. And I think you'll never be able to divorce that from the players. And I think that's what comes out of that. That's the output, is you get an all-star game type atmosphere like what you see with the NBA all-star game.
I don't think you raise your stock by just simply running up and down the court and slamming dunks.
It's a highlight-driven type thing, man. This is the highlight world we live in.
Well, unfortunately, they don't let coaches, recruiters go to those things anymore anyway.
It's all about,
be able to look at you.
It's all about what you get on the YouTube, man.
Yeah. I give you that. All right, that's going to do it. So at the half, UConn leading comfortably 54-33.
They're 9 of 10 from three-point range. There's your difference right there.
Skip Prosser's son, Mark Prosser, the associate head coach at Winthrop, will be coaching at Western Carolina, also a former Wofford assistant.
Very good. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.